Why not?
You guys got this. You look good. Look at you guys.
Yeah, you look good.
Look good.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Here we are.
we have whittled it down to the two best looking. Okay, we've dumped the excess baggage. Timmons isn't here. He's on a cruise.
Yeah.
Susie's not here. She's taking care of her family.
Yeah.
Mike and Kevin.
Yeah. Here we are.
And yeah, I mean, and let's be honest.
We fill the space just fine.
We fill the space.
just fine. Yep.
So a couple of things. First of all, we're digging out. All like everybody else.
Yeah.
We have survived a snowpocalypse.
Oh my word.
What was for you, Kevin? What was for you the activity that occupied most of the week that was spent, under ice and snow?
Wow.
I mean, were there programs being watched, books
Yeah.
that were being
We
read, push-ups that were being done?
Yeah, I wish. Actually, I had a cold in there, so that
boo.
kind of diminished
Yeah.
my physical activity.
Can I ask a question though? Because you rarely get sick, bro.
Yeah.
So do you feel like it's Susie's fault?
Yeah.
Because she initially let germs in like in December, and then the whole thing's been crazy since.
It has. It feels like it. And that's
Okay.
the dome of protection is gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Now, okay, so when you have a cold,
Uh-huh.
my wife makes fun of me. I have a very high pain tolerance for like physical injuries, but when I get sick,
Yeah. You have a low one.
well, she mocks. If you've ever seen the man cold, have you ever seen the man cold video?
No, I haven't, but I can
You
imagine.
can imagine.
Sure.
Yeah, are you a man cold guy?
I am not.
Yeah.
I am you'd have to ask my wife, but I'm a pretty low maintenance.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, when you're
I'll
sick.
be happy. Yeah. What's annoying is that it usually settles in a cough for me. This is
I've told you to stop vaping.
Yes, and
Seriously.
if I could give up smoking in
Yeah.
general,
Yeah.
vaping is worse. But the place where it settles in our family, like my mom coughs constantly, her mom coughs constantly, even like so. If it settles anywhere, and then it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Like quit coughing.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
anyway, it's that.
So back to the question. So you were colding part of this.
So I did a lot of reading. I worked on my taxes a little bit, more
boy.
than I wanted to,
Oh, boy.
and now we picked up a couple of different Netflix series to binge watch. The recent one we're watching is called The Bear. Don't know if you've seen it.
It's the prequel to Cocaine Bear.
Is it? It might be.
I don't know. I don't know
It's
if it
not.
is. But it's about a restaurant or something?
Yes, and it's intense. And it's in the we watched it because it won an award, a bunch of awards at the Emmys for comedy. And we're like, oh, light, that'd be great. Let's watch a comedy. And oh my word, people, I don't know how this particular show made it into the comedy category.
I've heard it's intense.
It is.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of working in a pizza place on a Friday night.
Oh,
like
lots of yelling.
Lots of yelling and cursing and mistakes and
Yeah.
and just people in each other's ways, and it's the whole thing. And
man.
I got done watching the first one, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
It's like I drank 3 cups of coffee because it sucks you in.
Oh, yeah.
And then I should have checked my pulse, but
So you did get a workout in.
yeah,
Just from watching. Because you watched, what, 5 you said or something? 4 or 5?
Well, 6 now.
So good.
Yeah,
So
it's good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It sucks you in because the characters and the acting's amazing. Anyway, I shoveled snow.
Yes, you did.
I did because it was there.
Yep.
And because we have a dog, and when you let the dog out and you don't shovel anywhere for it to go, it comes in and it's covered in snow. And honestly,
just more of a mess.
I get tired of that real fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's totally fair.
And then we drove around in the car because I think that's fun in the snow. And my mom has been here, which has probably consumed most of my time.
Yeah.
As she is not doing well physically. She's 86 years old and in a state of congestive heart failure. She got about 20% use of her heart right now. And then she has renal failure, kidney failure going on. And she's generally just in those end of life stages. So she's in a rehab right now. We're going to take her home back to West Virginia on Thursday, but that has consumed
Yes.
a bunch of my time.
Yes. Sweet
So.
mom.
Yeah.
Sweet mom.
And then work,
Yeah. On top of all of that.
no big deal. What about you? What'd you do? I'm really curious. What happened in the Erre household?
Oh my goodness. Well, Seth Erre got sick. So
Okay.
Yeah. So a sick Seth Erre is a
Consumed-
tragic sight. I mean, it is.
It's tragedy.
Oh, you just see it in his face, and he wants to do his little
Everything.
floppy thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he can't. And
Yeah.
so we end up watching AFV, America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh, I
which
bet
I didn't
he
realize
loves
he loves.
that. Oh,
loves.
I could see that.
Loves.
That would
loves,
be up there with the
Yeah. And he also loves a show called The Middle, which was on ABC for
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
So anyway, he does that. Justy Bear is recovering from rotator cuff surgery.
Yeah,
So she was just nuts sitting at home.
And this disrupted her baseball career.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But it's helped because she can't hit me. So
Yes.
I don't have any bruises, which is great.
Yes.
And then yours truly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an introvert's dream. Oh,
Reading.
Oh, really? Really? We
We're
get to be
stuck.
home for a
We're-
week?
we're
Oh,
stuck.
good Lord. I knocked out probably 300 pages of notes on Genesis 2. It was
Oh no.
glorious.
Oh, and
I was just
And we will all reap the benefit of this.
there will be a reaping. I'm not sure of what.
I said reaping, not
Yeah.
weeping.
Yeah.
I
Well,
said
that's it.
reaping.
So
Yes.
so anyway,
Yes.
literally I'm not a big TV guy unless
Right.
it's football.
Right.
And so I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I didn't realize I was an introvert until later in life, and I realized,
Yeah.
like I love being around people.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
But
And
then I
then-
need
Away time.
recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, recovery.
And a week snowed in.
You're fully
Oh
recovered.
my goodness. I'm so happy to
Jets
see
are
people
full.
today. Yeah. I got it. I
I'm
can
good
preach for days.
Right.
And
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
of preaching for days,
Yeah. What happened?
well, we had church on Sunday. And
We
people
did.
actually
Came.
braved.
Yeah, the icy parking lot, which really wasn't that icy
No.
because somebody graciously came in and plowed it.
Yes.
Thank you, City of Brentwood.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of, we're towards the end of just a short series of January conversations about how it is that the early church bore witness
Yes.
to the risen Jesus.
Yes.
Far beyond handing out tracts or putting John 3:16 in their eye black during sporting events, or doing evangelism explosion with door to door. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the day.
The questions, what are you going to say when you, to get into heaven was one of the questions.
Is
Well,
that- oh.
Yeah. Well, and when you get there, if you died tonight and you
There
were,
it is.
you were standing at the gate of heaven, what would you say to get in?
Yeah.
That was one of the,
Oh.
that might have been the lead. Like,
Oh, not even a warm up?
no, I
was-
like, so your name
Yeah.
is Mike?
Yeah.
Hey, by
Hi,
the way,
nice to meet
so
you,
if you
Kevin.
died tonight,
Oh, well, Kevin, I haven't really given it much thought on
Well,
this beautiful Saturday.
yeah, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, serious. I'm gonna go mow the yard. So the witness of the early church is just so much more beautiful than
that
all
question?
of that. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that isn't even the best question to ask. But we had
I got better ones.
We had in the 9 o'clock service we had time for one more question,
Right.
and two people in
Lord.
the back,
And it was bad.
and
for
they were
Kevin.
they were equidistant from you. You were in the middle.
Yeah.
One was far right, one was far left. They both raised their hands, and we had
Yep.
time for just one.
Yeah.
And so we just had to do it.
Yeah.
We just had to pick.
Yeah.
And there was chanting.
Oh, there
on
was.
the side of the room.
This
for
is the
one.
first time
Yeah.
and that actually was what threw me the other way.
Yeah.
The chanting.
Yeah,
on
you're
it.
not going to reward that.
No,
You're
I'm
not going to reward that. See?
I definitely rebel against peer or
Yeah.
trying to be influenced unrightly.
Let me just tell you right now, Kevin Dixon, the worst way to get Kevin Dixon to do anything
Yes.
is by trying to force him to do it.
That's right.
So that guarantees. So if you really want to get him to do something, make him do the opposite.
Yes.
And then you'll get the thing that you actually want done.
Or just ask.
And that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah, I usually am
Yeah.
pretty
very,
amenable.
Very amenable.
Yes.
So we chose one
Yes.
and not the other.
Yes, because we ran out of time.
And so I said to the one not chosen,
Yes.
text
Text it in.
it and let us know.
Yes.
Let us know that it's you, and we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
To which she said, well, that's great, because I really want to know what Kevin thinks. So it lines up perfectly. It was a great gift to this person to not be chosen.
One of those weird moments in life where you go,
Oh, so good. So good. So, Kevin,
yeah, here
read
it
the
is.
question and give us the answer.
You ready?
I'm ready. I'm
Give
totally
us
ready.
the answer.
I've been totally curious what she wrote in.
I've heard many times about church communities having people with diverse backgrounds and ethnicities. Is Journey headed in this direction?
Okay.
It's cool that she kind of uses directional language with Journey.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. Also, have you seen this occur in a modern day church? If so, how would you describe the Spirit's moving in that? Thanks for answering questions and helping make the Bible weird again. Girl who raised her hand.
I love that. Oh, first of all, thank you,
Yeah.
girl who raised her hand.
Yes.
And I don't know if you listen. This was just a ploy to get another listener.
It was.
Yeah.
Now we
get
have 4.
14.
Oh,
No, I think we have 4. I think
we
I've
have
had
to
enough.
14.
I think.
Brad, have you
if
been
they all
recruiting
listen-
people?
if they all listen at once, I think maybe it's 14.
That's
Hi, Brad.
Hey.
Yes.
Does Brad just listen, or does he actually now watch us on YouTube?
Oh, good Lord. He knows better than that.
Yeah,
he
I
knows
bet. I
better.
bet.
Why would you watch us on YouTube? We're way worse looking than our voices. Let's just say that.
We have voices for radio.
Yes. Yes.
No, we have faces and voices
Yeah.
for radio.
Nobody came up to us and said, hey, you guys should really do podcasting.
Or TV.
Nobody asked for
You
this.
guys should be on TV.
Yeah. Nobody asked for this.
No one
we
did.
just sort of said, hey,
Hey.
it's COVID and people want to hear our voices.
Yeah, and we started
So-
this silly thing.
And no one has stopped
3 years
us.
ago. I know.
So we keep doing it.
We do. And they actually talk to us now on Sunday mornings,
They
which
do.
which adds to the
Yeah. To
melee.
the mystery. Yeah.
the melee of
All right,
what we
so
call
Kevin-
Journey Now. So I've heard many times about church communities having. You see, the tricky part with Journey Church
Talk to me.
is we're situated now. Many people have actually written in about this, that Williamson County is actually more diverse than what we let on Sunday.
Yeah.
That it's primarily. It is more diverse than we actually probably let on Sunday, but it is predominantly white. It is predominantly upper economic people.
Yeah.
It is predominantly Protestant. It is.
Yeah.
It's like when we say predominantly, like 80% or something. It's pretty.
Is that in stark contrast to Davidson County?
Davidson County is much more diverse. Yeah, and I actually live in Davidson County.
Well, of course you do. But
So
the church is in Brentwood, Tennessee.
it
if
is,
you
but
don't
we
know.
are beginning to draw a more diverse crowd. And I think part of our struggle with diversity is our staff isn't overly diverse.
Well, size-wise.
Right.
We do size-wise. We do follically
Uh-huh.
diverse.
Yes.
We do gender diversity.
That's
We have male and female.
that's where we've kind of
Yeah, we've leaned in.
that's where we've moved the bar. We have
We have
one Hispanic. Oh wait, we have 2 Hispanics.
Come
Sorry about that.
a Persian.
Oh, that's true. We have a
Yeah,
Persian,
and a Timmons,
and yeah,
who is a
we don't know.
unicorn. Really,
Right,
I
we
mean,
don't
that's
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's your ethnicity?
Um,
What's your background?
Irish and Norwegian.
Oh, perfect.
So.
I'm Scotch and Irish and Swiss.
Ooh, see.
Yeah. So yeah, the whiteys are well represented.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So
yeah.
she keeps going.
Yeah. And so is Journey headed in this direction of trying to be more diverse?
Yeah.
And we are. And so, but somebody asked in another text, are you intentionally doing things? And the intentionality revolves, I think, around our culture of Center Set Church, where we are intentionally trying to remove barriers for people to come and be a part of this. And part of the question was, is Williamson County primarily straight in their sexual orientation? And I wrote back, I don't know.
Yeah.
And nor are we.
Lots of families.
Yeah. Nor are we measuring that or concerned about that in the sense of but we've gotten more people from the LGBT community that have started to come to Journey.
Mm-hmm.
We've got more people with diverse ethnicities coming to Journey over the last year. So there's it's starting to happen, but it doesn't happen just quickly. It takes a environment of safety. It takes a culture that's receptive and listening, and so I think we've got the right culture to get it more ethnically diverse. And I think economically we've hit that mark where it's very economically diverse. And I also would say we're very politically diverse.
Yeah.
So there's pockets and elements of diversity that are starting to creep in that are different than ethnicity, but we're starting to see more ethnicity.
I've seen churches approach this from the top down and the bottom up. And I've seen top down is, hey, we are
The wind in your hair, top down.
well, yes. I was thinking more leadership structures. but yes,
Leadership structures.
Yeah.
I was thinking convertibles.
I've seen, well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Kevin with the wind through his hair, you'd understand.
Yeah.
It's just very,
Oh, yes.
but he's still got some, man.
Those-
I mean,
yeah.
Timmons and I would kill for that. So
Please.
don't just show it off.
Yeah.
But I've seen churches very intentionally say, hey, we are going to diversify our elder board, our staff, our
Yeah.
teaching, our music, our structures.
Yeah.
And I've seen that work and I've seen that not work.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
And then I've seen bottom up approaches that say we want to create a certain kind of culture that we think is broad and inclusive.
Yeah.
And people will slowly over time find their way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for when Kevin talks about center set, that's our approach to almost every issue.
Everything
is to say we want to be intentional, but we're looking for markers of health rather than
Right.
goals that we kind of choose and then work hard to meet. And
Or quotas or numbers, or we hardly ever count our people.
Yeah. I mean, we count our podcast listeners. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and we're up to 14
we really
apparently.
count. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think Brad has his kids listen. So there's 3 right there. Christy, she's there.
Right, yeah.
And I know there's some more.
Yeah.
Because, we do get people.
Harry
coming
and
up
Robin
say hello.
listen.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so nice.
Yeah.
I hope you're still listening to this one.
Yeah, I think they turned us off. But I think biblically, that question pops up because it's such a our culture is so divided in the church along race lines, and what prompted it was your discussion of the coming together of the Gentiles and the Jewish believers into one church, and there was to be unity. There was to be no difference between those two things.
Yeah.
And it was a problem.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good question to ask of a predominantly white upper middle class church.
Yeah.
To go, hey, are you guys sensitive to this?
Yeah.
And the answer for us has been yes, we've engaged in multiple all church conversations around this topic. We've done homework and book studies and brought in teachers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a community of predominantly the people that predominantly represent Brentwood, people of that persuasion, they have to agree that just having them in the room isn't what's healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what we mean by bottom up, is that until conservative Christians who've been raised to believe that any social talk is liberal talk or non-gospel talk, until they become convinced, no, this is a central way we manifest the truth of the gospel. Right. Then it's very difficult to build an ethnically diverse or politically diverse community, for that matter.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead.
But with what we're talking about biblically on Sundays, what you're bringing to the table in this series is how do we bear witness of the truth of the gospel, how the truth of who Jesus is, that we're actual Jesus followers, that it would follow that we would be different than the community around us, that difference would manifest itself in diversity.
Right.
And-
through repair. So remember, we looked at all those examples
Yep.
of where the early church screwed it up.
Right.
And their bearing witness wasn't in their perfection.
Right.
It was in the fact that they refused to sit in a community and allow that community to reinforce the social ordering and rankings present in culture.
Right.
That's the thing that was so compelling.
Right. And that's why we, in many ways, when we talk about us as center set, we're trying not to create these artificial boundaries for people to have to become a part of Journey Church.
Right.
And so one of those things that we've worked really hard is we can talk about politics. We just aren't partisan in that conversation. And people they struggle with this from both ends of the partisan perspective, because they want to be around people that agree with them.
We all do, yeah.
And we're trying to create a community where you can be around people that don't.
Yeah.
And it's not comfortable sometimes. It's not comfortable to sit with somebody who disagrees with you politically, especially in this community or culture that has begotten.
The only begotten culture.
The only begotten culture has begun to be, or is consistently hostile toward the other side. And so to come to a church where there are liberals and there are conservatives and Republicans, independents and moderates and the whole thing, I think says to the community something very significant, in that they're not letting the politics of the day, the partisanship of the day, determine who can be a part. And so I think that's part of bearing witness.
For sure.
Especially in this culture, which also then speaks to the division in many ways of the ethnic divide, because a lot of those split on cultural lines. Also, economics has a way of splitting people on those lines.
Yeah.
And we have a wide swath of economic different people.
Yeah.
In this community.
And I think you're tapping into something that has been good for me. I'm glad that culture's having conversations.
Our culture?
American culture.
American culture.
It's having conversations around race and justice.
For sure.
Even though I don't always agree with the underpinnings or the assumptions that are carried into some of these things.
Correct.
But it's helped me as a Christian whose charge it is to love my neighbor and to be part of a church that bears witness to Jesus, to recognize that the experience of Christianity, or the experience of the church, or the experience of Black people in spaces I've never thought about is much different than mine. Yeah. And so I just think there's a very biblical place if we're going to carry each other's burdens across lines that divide and fractures in culture, to be listeners, to be hospitable, to be question askers, to be learners. And that's where I think Journey, before I ever showed up, was already doing that work with the public and in other spaces. Yeah. And so, that's not the sexy work of, hey, look at how diverse our church is, but it's the harder work of unlearning and relearning what the gospel is and what it entails. And that to me is the more fruitful approach to these sorts of things. But that's easy for me to say. That somebody from a different point of view might say, no, it's too slow, or you need representation, or whatever. And maybe that's true. All we know is that when we look at our community for signs of health, we see things that are very encouraging, from the maturity of the questions that are asked, particularly by this young lady that was rudely ignored, to political postures, to there are things that we're seeing that are like, okay, this is good. We're asking the right questions. We're wrestling with the right issues. Yeah. And not that again, this isn't a hey, this is why Journey's great podcast, because we certainly have all our screw ups, and I think they know from the podcast, that those include all of those who are leading the church.
Yes. Clay feet, baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
Clay
But Kevin and I both come from a generation of evangelical thought that said racial issues aren't central to the gospel.
Yep.
And I just think both the Bible and the testimony of our brothers and sisters argue against that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so part of repentance for me personally has been to read and learn and sit in front of and talk with folks who, and this includes, like, for me, I came in very, gender was an issue. Women were not allowed to preach or teach or elder or do anything. Yeah. And again, it was the Bible and the experiences of my sisters that really rewrote that script.
Right. And quite honestly, the hypocrisy that sat on one side of, you can teach, but we can't call you pastor. Right. You can lead, but we can't call you elder.
Yeah, you're a director.
You can be all the things, but
without any of the authority or position or compensation.
And once that started to reveal itself in real ways to me, I became my old denomination's worst nightmare. Yeah. Because I kept leaning into it like, guys, come on. Totally. Let's either get consistent and then I'm leaving, or let's move. That's it. Let's move in this direction and elevate women to their rightful place. Totally. But
yeah, I pastored at a church, I've said this before, that didn't allow women to serve communion.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my all-male 14-member elder board, and I just like so gently okay, show me the verse. Yeah. And they were great. there is no verse. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing left over from when the church was 60 years old. And so, that's just a cultural thing.
Right.
So it
which is not good enough.
Well, I mean, and we have to ask ourselves, what are the cultural things that we've just inherited and passed on, thinking those are the biblical things.
That's right. Yeah.
And this is why, if I could take the conversation one more point, deconstruction,
please do,
isn't the scary word that I think a lot of conservative Christians think it is.
No,
I call this discipleship to Jesus. The unlearning. Like, nobody encountered Jesus of Nazareth in the first century and came away from him going, "Yep, I got it. I knew that." Right?
Yeah. No.
He was constantly undoing everything they thought they knew.
That's right. And that's either you're moving in a direction where you're continually ongoingly discovering who Jesus is and how you follow this person that is different than you thought, this God who is bigger than you thought, and you are constantly in a mode of, I had that wrong. Yeah. I have this, okay. And in 20 years from now, 10 years from now, you may look back on this season and go, well, I still didn't get it right.
Being right isn't the goal of Jesus.
That's right. Yeah.
Totally.
That isn't the deal.
Yeah.
That's being repentant might be.
Well, that's a sure sign.
Yeah.
That's the surest sign that you're following the actual Jesus.
Right. It's like,
you keep running into the brick wall of the kingdom, and it's like, that's a lot different than I thought.
Right. I do want to talk about one more thing before we get off this one.
Do it.
Because I thought one of the books that you brought up on Sunday, we should mention. And it's The Rise of Christianity.
Oh, yes.
And you have this long quote,
bro,
which
might be my favorite quote ever.
It might be mine.
I know. Dude, I got amens and ooms.
And people ask me online on the text line, can you send me that quote? So I've sent that quote out.
Nice.
The book's thick. Like, it's...
Yeah, it's not a fun read. He's a sociologist.
And he comes at it not from a Christian perspective.
No.
Because I've dabbled in this book. I can't tell you that I've
Yeah. Yeah.
But the conclusion...
Dabbling is a great word.
The conclusion, because he's coming at it asking the question of, how did the loser of the battle, in essence, get to write history? Because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
The winner usually gets to write the history. Yeah. And so the Romans win.
Yeah.
The Jews win. Yeah. They crucify Jesus.
Right.
but the winner
Mm-hmm.
isn't the victor.
Yeah.
And so you get this, and so he's like, how did this happen? That's the kind of the essence of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to this conclusion that it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And can you just, in a nutshell, share that conclusion?
Oh my
with
goodness!
I don't
wish
think
had
I
the
can
quote
nutshell
in front of
it.
me. Well, no, it was.
Do you want to read the quote? I have the quote.
Oh yeah,
Let me find
yeah.
it here.
Pull it up.
Talk about it.
Let's
for a second.
let's end it. Well, yeah. So I love how you set it up. He's asking the historical question: how did an obscure peasant movement, right? In some sense, overthrow the Roman Empire that was determined to crush it?
Right.
Yeah. And in Christianity, I mean, there were great disincentives, to believe. Like you would be punished, you'd be held suspect. Later on in Empire, you'd be persecuted. They had no money, they had no influence, they had nothing.
Yeah.
And yet, why within 200 years does the ruler of the Roman Empire see it politically advantaged to, name himself Christian? And so do you have, you have it right there. Do you want to read it?
Sure. It's by a guy by the name of Rodney Stark.
Rodney Stark, Rise of Christianity is the book.
He says, at the end of the book, he says, therefore, as I conclude this study, I find it necessary to confront what appears to me to be the ultimate factoring of the rise of Christianity. The simple phrase, for God so loved the world, would have puzzled an educated pagan. And the notion that the gods care about how we treat one another would have been dismissed as patently absurd. This was the moral climate in which Christianity taught that mercy is one of the primary virtues, that a merciful God requires humans to be merciful, of all things.
Yeah.
This was revolutionary stuff. Indeed, it was the cultural basis for the revitalization of the Roman world, groaning under a host of miseries. In my judgment, a major way in which Christianity served as a revitalization movement within the empire was in offering a coherent culture that was entirely stripped of ethnicity. All were welcome without need to dispense with ethnic ties. Christianity also prompted liberating social relations between the sexes and within the family, and greatly modulated class differences. More than rhetoric was involved where slave and noble greeted one another as brothers in Christ.
Come on.
Finally, what Christianity gave to its converts was nothing less than their humanity.
Come on.
In this sense, virtue was its own reward.
That's it. You existed then in fixed social categories.
Yeah.
And this was the only place where you would gather as siblings.
Yeah.
Disregarding.
Yeah.
Or is that right? Disregarding the social categories you carried in
Right.
with you.
It didn't mean that you lost them. What it meant is that they didn't affect how you treated other humans. Which is unheard of.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
like it.
Nothing like it.
So
And it changed the world.
that's what we're trying to say is when we talk about bearing witness,
Yep.
it was the quality of the communal life of the church that is what bore witness more than sending evangelists out into the world.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This has been a fun series. And
surprisingly
And the questions have been amazing.
robust.
Yeah, robust. And have,
Yeah.
I think, spoke volumes as to what we're sitting in
Yeah.
as a church.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us on A Journey Now.
Yeah.
I know you missed the other two. Hopefully they'll be back next week. Lord have mercy.
No, you know what? We'll leave them.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
don't you and
Let
I
them
just
do it.
say,
Yeah.
just to feel what it's like.
yeah.
You know?
Let's go with that. All right.
Bye.
We're out.